Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you would have given them everything, only to discover that everything about them was a lie? This is the story of Linda, a 53-year-old widow from Phoenix, Arizona, who thought she had found love again in the most unlikely place. But what she discovered would shake her faith in humanity itself. If you want to hear more incredible true stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Linda Morrison had been alone for 2 years when this story began. Her husband of 28 years, David, had passed away from cancer, leaving her with a beautiful house, comfortable savings, and a heart that felt like it might never heal. She had raised 3 children who are now adults with families of their own, scattered across the country pursuing their careers. The silence in her house was deafening. Every morning she woke up reaching for David's side of the bed, only to find cold sheets and the crushing reminder that he was gone forever. Friends encouraged her to get out, to try new things, to maybe even consider dating again. But Linda wasn't ready for that. Instead, she threw herself into volunteer work at the local animal shelter and started taking online photography classes. It was during one of those lonely evenings, scrolling through social media, that she first saw him. His name was Michael Chen, and his profile said he was a registered nurse at a hospital in Singapore. His photos showed a kind-faced man in his early 40s with gentle eyes and a warm smile. He was handsome in an understated way, wearing scrubs in some pictures, casual clothes in others, always looking professional and caring. What drew Linda to Michael wasn't just his appearance, but his posts. He shared stories about his patients, always with respect and compassion, never violating privacy but expressing genuine care for the people he helped heal. He posted photos of sunrises from the hospital windows, wrote about the importance of mental health, and shared inspirational quotes about overcoming adversity. Linda found herself looking forward to his posts, finding comfort in his words during her darkest moments. One evening, Linda noticed that Michael had liked several of her photos from the animal shelter. Encouraged by this small interaction, she sent him a private message, simply thanking him for his work as a nurse and sharing how much his posts meant to her during her grief. She never expected him to respond, but within hours she had a thoughtful reply. Michael told her how sorry he was for her loss, shared that he had also lost someone close to him, and asked about her volunteer work. The conversation flowed naturally, and before she knew it, they were messaging daily. Michael seemed to understand her pain in a way that even her closest friends couldn't. He worked long shifts at the hospital, he explained, often staying late to comfort patients who had no family nearby. He told her about the exhaustion, the emotional toll of seeing so much suffering, but also about the profound satisfaction of helping people heal. Linda shared her struggles with loneliness, her attempts to rebuild her life, and her fears about the future. Michael listened without judgment, offered gentle advice, and gradually became the bright spot in her day. Their conversations moved from social media to email, then to phone calls. Michael's English was excellent, though he spoke with a slight accent that Linda found charming. He explained that he had studied in the United States for several years before returning to Singapore to care for his aging parents. He talked about his dream of eventually moving back to America, perhaps to work in a hospital there, but said his family obligations kept him in Singapore for now. The way he spoke about duty and sacrifice only made Linda admire him more. As weeks turned into months, their relationship deepened. Michael sent her photos from his daily life, the hospital cafeteria, where he grabbed quick meals between shifts, the small apartment he shared with his elderly mother, the temple where he went to find peace on his days off. Linda reciprocated, sharing pictures of her morning walks, her photography projects, and the dogs she worked with at the shelter. They began having video calls, though Michael's were often brief and the connection wasn't always perfect due to his demanding schedule and time zone differences. During their conversations, Michael revealed more about his life. He had been married once, he told her, but his wife had died in a car accident 5 years earlier. They had been trying to start a family, and her death had devastated him. He had thrown himself into his work as a way to cope, but he was ready to love again. The way he spoke about loss, about healing, about hope resonated deeply with Linda. She felt like she had finally found someone who truly understood her journey. But it was the small details that really convinced Linda of Michael's authenticity. He knew medical terminology, could discuss complex procedures, and often shared stories about challenging cases he was working on. When Linda's elderly neighbour had a health scare, Michael provided helpful advice about what questions to ask the doctors and what warning signs to watch for. His knowledge seemed genuine, his compassion authentic. Linda began to believe that fate had brought them together through their shared experiences of loss and healing. As their emotional connection deepened, Linda found herself falling in love again for the first time since David's death. Michael made her feel young, beautiful, and valued. He remembered details about her life, asked about her children by name, and celebrated her small victories at the animal shelter. When she sent him photos from her photography class, he praised her artistic eye and encouraged her to pursue it more seriously. He made her feel like she was more than just a grieving widow, she was a whole person worthy of love and admiration. The first small red flag appeared about 4 months into their relationship, but Linda dismissed it at the time. Michael mentioned that his mother needed surgery, something urgent that insurance wouldn't fully cover. He didn't ask for money directly, but he seemed stressed about the financial burden. Linda offered to help, but Michael refused, saying he couldn't accept such generosity from someone he cared about. His refusal to take money actually made Linda trust him more. Surely a scammer would have jumped at the offer, she reasoned. A few weeks later, Michael's stories became more dramatic. There was a crisis at the hospital, budget cuts, layoffs, and his own job was in jeopardy. He was working double shifts to prove his value, which explained why their video calls became even less frequent. When they did talk, he looked exhausted, stressed, and Linda's heart went out to him. She wished she could be there to support him through this difficult time. Then came the opportunity that would change everything. Michael told Linda about a chance to work at a prestigious hospital in California, a position that would pay significantly more and bring him closer to her. The job required him to complete additional certifications and training, which would cost several $1,000s, but it was his dream opportunity. He had saved some money, but not enough, and he was devastated that he might have to pass it up. This time, when Linda offered to help, Michael's resistance was weaker. He said he couldn't possibly accept such a large sum, but maybe, if she considered it a loan, he could pay her back once he got settled in his new position. Linda didn't hesitate. She wired $5,000 to Michael's account, money she could afford to lose but hoped she wouldn't have to. Michael was overwhelmed with gratitude, promising to pay her back within months of starting his new job. He even sent her official-looking documents about the training program and the job offer, everything appearing legitimate and professional. Linda felt proud to be helping the man she loved achieve his dreams, and excited about the possibility of finally meeting him in person when he moved to California. But as the weeks passed, Michael's stories became increasingly complex and concerning. The training was more expensive than expected. There were additional fees, equipment costs, and living expenses while he completed the program. Each request for money was accompanied by elaborate explanations, official documents, and Michael's obvious distress at having to ask. Linda found herself sending more money, each transfer feeling like an investment in their future together. The amounts grew larger, and Linda began dipping into her savings, but Michael's gratitude and promises kept her convinced that she was doing the right thing. The requests became more frequent and urgent. Michael's mother's condition worsened, requiring expensive treatments. There were complications with his visa application for the United States, requiring legal fees. The training program had unexpected costs that threatened to disqualify him if he couldn't pay immediately. Each crisis seemed to build on the last, creating a sense of urgency that made Linda feel like she had to act quickly to help the man she loved. By this point, Linda had sent over $20,000 to Michael, depleting a significant portion of her savings. When her daughter called to check on her and Linda mentioned her new relationship, her daughter expressed concern about someone she had never met asking for money. Linda defended Michael passionately, explaining his situation and his genuine nature, but her daughter's worried questions planted the first seeds of doubt in Linda's mind. Those doubts grew when Linda tried to research Michael's hospital online and found no record of him in their directory. When she asked Michael about this, he explained that the hospital's website was outdated and that many nurses weren't listed for privacy reasons. His explanation was plausible, but Linda's daughter had taught her to be more skeptical of online relationships, and she decided to do more digging. The truth came crashing down when Linda hired a private investigator, encouraged by her children who had grown increasingly worried about the money she was sending overseas. The investigation revealed that Michael Chen was not a nurse at any hospital in Singapore. In fact, the photos he had been using belonged to a real nurse named Michael Chen who worked in Toronto, Canada, and had no idea his identity was being stolen. The real Michael was happily married with 2 children and had never heard of Linda Morrison. If you're watching this story and wondering how someone could fall for such an elaborate deception, you're not alone. Many people, especially those dealing with grief and loneliness, become targets of sophisticated romance scams. Have you or someone you know ever encountered something similar? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more eye-opening true stories. The documents Michael had sent about the job opportunity, the training program, and even his mother's medical bills were all fabricated. The bank account she had been sending money to was traced to a group of scammers operating out of Nigeria, not Singapore. Every detail of Michael's life, every shared moment of vulnerability, every expression of love had been carefully crafted to manipulate her emotions and extract her money. The man she had fallen in love with simply didn't exist. Linda's world collapsed when she learned the truth. The emotional betrayal was even more devastating than the financial loss. She had opened her heart again after David's death, allowed herself to be vulnerable, to hope, to love. The thought that someone had deliberately exploited her grief, her loneliness, and her desire for connection filled her with a rage and humiliation she had never experienced before. She felt foolish, embarrassed, and completely violated. The scammer didn't give up easily. When Linda confronted Michael with what she had discovered, he denied everything, claiming the investigator was wrong, that there was some terrible misunderstanding. He sent more documents, made more phone calls, and even had someone claiming to be his supervisor at the hospital call Linda to vouch for him. But Linda had seen enough evidence to know the truth, and she refused to be manipulated any longer. When Linda stopped sending money and threatened to report the scam to authorities, Michael's loving persona disappeared entirely. The gentle, caring nurse was replaced by someone angry and threatening. He claimed that Linda owed him money for emotional damages, threatened to sue her, and even suggested he would harm himself if she abandoned him. The psychological manipulation was cruel and calculated, designed to make Linda feel responsible for his well-being even after she knew he was a fraud. Linda realised she was dealing with someone who had no conscience, no empathy, and no limit to the lies he would tell to extract money from vulnerable people. She blocked Michael on all platforms, changed her phone number, and reported the scam to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Centre. The process of documenting everything she had lost, every lie she had believed, was humiliating but necessary. The hardest part for Linda wasn't just the money she had lost, though $20,000 was a significant blow to her retirement savings. It was the realisation that her judgment had been so completely compromised by her loneliness and grief. She had to tell her children what had happened, endure their mixture of sympathy and frustration, and accept that she had made decisions that put her financial security at risk. Linda fell into a deep depression following the revelation. She stopped volunteering at the animal shelter, abandoned her photography classes, and withdrew from friends and family. The humiliation was overwhelming. She felt like everyone must think she was a foolish old woman who had been easily deceived. Sleep became elusive as she replayed every conversation with Michael, looking for signs she should have noticed, lies she should have caught. But slowly, with the support of her children and a therapist who specialised in fraud victims, Linda began to understand that she hadn't been foolish. She had been targeted by professionals who understood exactly how to exploit human emotions. Romance scammers study their victims carefully, learning their vulnerabilities, their triggers, and their dreams. They craft elaborate personas designed to be irresistible to specific types of people. Linda's kindness, her nursing background that made her appreciate medical professionals, her recent loss, and her desire for companionship had all been weaponized against her. The healing process was long and difficult. Linda had to rebuild not just her financial security, but her ability to trust her own judgment. She joined a support group for fraud victims and was shocked to learn how common romance scams were, how many intelligent, successful people had fallen for similar schemes. She learned that scammers often target people going through major life transitions: divorce, death of a spouse, retirement, illness, when they are most vulnerable and seeking connection. Linda also discovered that the photos and persona of Michael Chen had been used to scam dozens of other women around the world. The real Michael Chen in Toronto had been contacted by authorities multiple times about his stolen identity and was working to get the fake profiles removed from social media platforms. Knowing that she wasn't the only victim helped Linda feel less isolated in her experience, though it also made her angry about how widespread and sophisticated these operations had become. Gradually, Linda began to reclaim her life. She returned to the animal shelter, finding comfort in caring for creatures who needed help and couldn't deceive her. She started a blog about her experience, hoping to warn other people about romance scams and provide support for victims. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people reached out to share their own stories of being deceived online, many thanking Linda for her courage in speaking out. Linda also became an advocate for better protection of vulnerable adults from online fraud. She worked with local law enforcement to educate seniors about common scams, spoke at community centres about internet safety, and lobbied for stronger regulations on social media platforms that allow fake profiles to flourish. Turning her painful experience into a force for good helped Linda process her trauma and find new purpose in her life. 2 years after the scam, Linda met Robert, a widower in her hiking group who had also lost his spouse to cancer. Their relationship developed slowly, built on genuine shared experiences and gradual trust. Robert understood Linda's caution about online relationships and never pressured her to move faster than she was comfortable with. When Linda told him about the scam, he didn't judge her or make her feel foolish. He admired her strength in surviving it and using the experience to help others. Today, Linda is happily remarried and continues her advocacy work. She has recovered financially, though she remains more cautious about her investments and has better safeguards in place to protect her assets. Most importantly, she has learned to trust herself again while also maintaining healthy skepticism about online relationships. She tells people that the experience, while devastating, ultimately taught her valuable lessons about resilience, the importance of family support, and the power of turning pain into purpose. Linda's story serves as a powerful reminder that romance scams can happen to anyone, regardless of intelligence, education, or life experience. The perpetrators are sophisticated criminals who study human psychology and exploit our deepest needs for connection and love. The shame that victims feel often prevents them from reporting these crimes or seeking help, which allows the scammers to continue targeting others. If you or someone you know is in an online relationship with someone you've never met in person, especially if money requests are involved, please proceed with extreme caution. Verify the person's identity through multiple sources, never send money to someone you haven't met face to face, and trust your instincts if something feels wrong. Remember that genuine love doesn't require financial proof, and real emergencies can usually be verified through other means. For those who have fallen victim to romance scams, know that you are not alone and you are not to blame. The criminals who perpetrate these schemes are experts at manipulation and deception. Seeking support from friends, family, professionals, and other victims can help you heal and move forward. Your experience, while painful, can also become a source of strength and wisdom that helps protect others from similar harm. If you found Linda's story helpful or if it resonates with your own experiences, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more true stories that shed light on important issues affecting our communities. Together we can raise awareness about these crimes and support those who have been victimized by them. Remember, healing is possible, love is still worth pursuing, and your story matters.